Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday Q&A. This one's pre-recorded because I am in
Hunting?
Belgium.
Belgium. Oh, bring some chocolate.
I'm currently in Belgium. You want some chocolate?
Belgium chocolate.
I will get you some chocolate.
Go to Bruges and get me some linens
I'm not going to Bruges. I'm going to Spa.
Bruges is so gorgeous.
Brussels, I think. Those two. But anyways, welcome to our Wednesday Q&A, where we take your questions submitted to us via email to questions@itmtrading.com. We put them up here on the screen. We ask them live, so you get a real, true, organic response. And by the way, I'm Eric Griffin, president of ITM Trading. This is Lynette Zang, our chief market analyst.
Just in case you didn't know.
Who are tuning in for the first time, because we do have first-time viewers a lot.
We do. Good. That's awesome. That's what we want, isn't it? Yeah.
More people to get the truth.
Yep.
Wake up.
Mission.
All right.
Yep.
Just B asks, in terms of holding cash outside of the banks for a rainy day, which currency would you hold for emergency purposes? I'm assuming that we're here living in the United States and asking that question.
Right.
Let's just pretend we're in the United States because it doesn't say. Would you hold the Swiss franc, the pound, the dollar, the euro? What do you hold?
No, I would hold dollars because if I'm in the U.S. So whatever country you happen to be in, you need the local currency. And yeah, I mean, that's the simple one.
All right, answer.
Definitely hold the local currency.
Jason S. asks, in a monetary collapse, be it hyperinflation, default, or global reset, why would sovereign-struck collectible coins be better than 1 ounce rounds or 1 ounce gold bars, or I'm going to add a little bit of extra even in there, or foreign-struck gold collectible coins? Is that added value worth the extra premium at this time?
Well, I always like to look at something and say, what if I'm right and what if I'm wrong? And if I can make a choice that it does not matter whether or not I'm right or wrong, that is always 100% of the time the choice that I'm going to make. So, historically in this country, we have confiscated gold more than once. And even looking out, pretty, within this same time frame that we're in right now, like in India, etc., there are gold confiscations that have happened and can happen. So I always want to hold the loophole gold. Like in China, the loophole gold is jewelry. Because most of the rest of the gold is held at the Shanghai Gold Exchange, which is controlled by the PBOC and owned by the Chinese government. So easy to confiscate, except jewelry is the exception there. So if I were living in China, it would be jewelry.
Huh.
But I'm living in the U.S., and in the U.S., historically, what has been exempt from confiscation because of the premium, because you can't do a
Eminent domain.
Exactly, eminent domain. That's why I only personally own collectible coins. I learned that lesson from my Uncle Al, where he was able to hold at least 3,000 coins in these 2 floor safes and hold it legally in 1965 and use it in the normal marketplace.
So the most important thing, I try to tell this to people whenever we get asked, but the most important thing is the language that was used to exempt coins from the last confiscation was rare or unusual value to collectors, right? So you got to ask yourself, is what I'm buying rare or unusual? Graded bullion, is that rare or unusual? I don't think so, right?
And neither do the wholesalers.
Right. So you got to ask yourself that question: is this rare or unusual? That's at least historically what we can use as guidance. Okay.
And the answer is yes. It is definitely worth the extra premium, because even with that premium, now obviously if you're getting up in the really rare category, but you can stay below the true fundamental value of an ounce of gold, even with that premium.
Right.
Right? So why not? Then it doesn't matter. Right, wrong, doesn't matter.
Right. Okay, so Jinu T asks, what would you do if deflation happens instead of inflation?
Well, deflation is this side of the coin. Inflation is this side of the coin. So they're really from the same coin. There's only one way to fight deflation, and that's with inflation, which is what the central banks have really been battling since the 80s. On the other side of that, the only way to fight inflation, if you look at the what Fed Chair Powell is attempting to do right now, fight inflation is with deflation. So the central banks, the Federal Reserve, is looking to increase unemployment to about 5% for about 5 years to cool demand. The problem is that, you know, either way, it doesn't really matter what they do. We are at the end of this currency's life cycle. There is virtually no purchasing power left. And can they really raise interest rates much further than they have already? I don't think they will.
Well, and globally, all central banks are in the same environment. They're all raising rates into the headwinds of this recession that's coming.
Exactly. So you've had a synchronized QE money printing like crazy. Now you've got a synchronized. For a minute there, they were not so synchronized. Now we've gone back to a synchronized global raising of the rates, and guess what? We're going to go into a synchronized reset. Inflation, deflation, the only thing that protects you from both of those and has historically performed well during either one of those scenarios is gold. That's just a fact.
All right, so Rhonda W. asks.
So I wouldn't, let me answer the question. So I wouldn't actually do anything different than I'm doing. Whether it's inflation, deflation, doesn't matter because it's the same coin.
Okay, so Rhonda W. asks, if we purchase gold and they want to confiscate it, how will they know who has what? They don't need to know.
Right.
They don't need to know. They didn't know in 1933.
Right. No. What they'll do is they will try to entice you to get you to cooperate because there's a lot more of us than there are of them. So they're not going to go likely to go banging on your door. What they'll do is, let's say spots at I think this is what they'll do. We'll find out. But let's say spots at $2,000 when they decide to confiscate. Well, what they'll say is, we'll pay you $3,000 for turning in your gold. They'll do a huge sweep of the IRAs because no depository is going to say, oh, no, you can't take it. I mean, they're going to have to follow the legal letter of the law. But most people not understanding what's really happening will most likely go, well, wow, gold is only worth $2,000 and they're willing to pay me $3,000. Okay, I'll turn it in. And then, of course, they'll do the same thing that they did in 33, which is reset everything.
Let it go up to $12,500.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Well, afterwards, I mean, depending upon how much new debt they've taken on and how much they have to cover. I mean, you know, I know $12,500 sounds outrageous with spot around 1,800, wherever it happens to be at the moment. But the reality is it's fundamental value is worth a lot more than that. And what we don't know is what that cover ratio is going to be. And that we're not going to know. You know, historically, most of the time it's 1,000 to 1. Most of the time it's 1,000 to 1 when they do that reset. But they reset the currency against gold because this has no intrinsic value. The fiat money, no intrinsic value. It's used in one place. The gold money is all intrinsic value because it has the broadest base of functionality. It's used in every sector of the global economy. And so you always have demand. So when they do that reset, you know, I mean, I don't know, Venezuela went up 3,500%. So if it goes up 3,500% from where it is right now, because that's much closer to its fundamental value, what does that put it at?
A lot.
Yeah.
A number that sounds astronomical.
Exactly. But I'll betcha back in 1913, if you had said, well, one of these days gold is going to be at 1,800 or 2,000 an ounce, they would have looked at you, it's $20, right?
Right.
That would have sounded ridiculous.
Yep, that's a good point. And, you know, they'll make it illegal to own, right? So, like they did in 33, it was a 10-year prison sentence or a $10,000 fine, which was a hefty fine back then. And so, and then they make it unusable. So from 1933 to 1974, there was no market for buying and selling physical gold coins.
Yeah, but that was when my Uncle Al was accumulating.
He was buying up collectibles. So, and you could buy collectibles then. So, they'll make it illegal. There'll be a penalty for not turning in, but, back then they gave you the going rate. It was $20.67 an ounce. That's what they gave people when they turned it in. Even if they don't do what Lynette says, and they go and they say, okay, well, it's $18.20 an ounce, we're going to make it illegal to own. There's not going to be any market for it. Plus, we really need you to turn in your gold because then it's going to restabilize the economy. It's the patriotic thing to do.
That's funny.
Turn in your gold. And they'll use their perception management to make it seem like it's this great thing and you got to do it. It's going to help everybody. And you turn it in, they give you the $1,800 an ounce, and then they revalue it at $12,500 or $20,000, and then and just so you know, what that then does is makes the value of the dollar drop immediately when they reset that value of gold. It immediately drops the value of the dollar.
Yeah,
that's what they did in '33. They raised to $35 an ounce, and it dropped the purchasing power of the dollar by 42% in one moment.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you really have to understand, and I know that it's hard for people to comprehend, and I can't even tell you how thankful I am that I have been guided along my lifetime, because if I had not stumbled across non-dollar denominated bonds, I wouldn't have known very much about the currencies, and certainly I wouldn't have known anything at all about currency life cycles. But you see these repeatable patterns that happen every time. And, will this time be different? Probably not. They always say it's different this time. Let's redefine inflation. Okay, because that'll fix the inflation problem. Not. So, you have to look back on history to look at what the next most likely outcome is. And so, really, just buy the kind of gold that is most likely not to be confiscated, because in that ultra rarity catalog or category, if you stop and think about it, who can own a 1 ounce coin for $15 million?
Very wealthy people.
Exactly. And very wealthy people either make the laws or they have the ability to influence those that make the laws. That's the category I want to be in. I don't have to spend $15 million on an ounce of gold in order to be in that category. I just want to be in that category.
Same room.
Exactly.
All right, so Demake 75. I think I said that right, but I could totally have not said that right. Demake? Yeah, maybe Demake. That probably sounds better. Demake 75. What is Lynette's number one signal or event that the American dollar is about to be reset, revalued, or go to zero? About to meaning days away or within a week or two. So a short time frame. What's your number one signal?
It really boils down to public confidence. That isn't so you want to look at revolt. Okay? I guess that would be the signal. It's not just about the loss of confidence, because the loss of confidence, and I'm kind of thinking this through, but the loss of confidence is what will ultimately, and probably sooner than later, push us into the hyperinflation. But when the public is hungry and hopeless, they make choices they would not otherwise make. And so in order to use their perception management, I would think that we have public uprisings, and so they come out and they say, this is going to fix everything. Of course it doesn't. But this is going to fix everything. So I would say probably some kind of a heavy-duty rioting, revolting, where the 1% really feel in jeopardy and feel like they have to do something.
You want to know what's interesting? I read an article today about a Lebanese man.
Oh my gosh!
Who went into the bank.
I'm actually going to talk about that next week.
Okay, I thought that was crazy.
Go ahead, talk about it. Yeah, I read the same article. It came out yesterday. I think
well, what day are you going to talk about it on?
Probably Tuesday.
Yeah, so this is coming out the day after. So you'll talk about it first.
Okay.
So if you didn't hear about it, go back to yesterday's video, watch that, and you'll hear about the Lebanese citizen who held up a bank to get his money out because they wouldn't give it to him. to pay for his father's medical bills. Crazy, right? And they didn't prosecute him. Or the judge let him off, said, this is like all of us right now.
Yeah.
Totally in this crappy situation.
And as much as people were cheering, it didn't change anything the next day.
What a joke.
It really is. I mean, and the thing is it's hard to comprehend that could actually happen. Well, that's in Lebanon. That could never happen here. This is a global issue, and yes, it definitely can happen here. It has happened here. So it can't happen again? Yes. So my number one, it probably would be the level of rioting and revolting and how close it gets to the 1% and the issue about the elites losing their position. I would think that's when they'll come out and say, okay, we're going to take care of this. We're just going to lop these zeros off. Everything's going to be fine. It won't. They'll do it at least 3 times. I don't know how many times, but globally on average, historically, they do it about 3 times. I don't know why it takes people so long to learn. I got to tell you, because that always reminds me of this one person that I many years ago, and he was an airline pilot, and so he had lost his pension benefits, had been completely decimated at Delta. I mean, it happened to him like at 3 different airlines where they just basically destroyed his pension and his retirement funds. And yet it was still hard for him to comprehend that it could happen. I'm like, I'm like, this makes no sense to me. Are you out of your mind? It's happened to you personally, and you're sitting there telling me it can't happen. Really? I don't get people. I don't get it. Sometimes when those things happen.
I agree. What else? What do you got? Reminder-wise.
First of all, I want to remind everybody that we have a podcast that is on anywhere, anytime, on all major platforms.
And it's this show in audio format, so you can listen to it while you're driving.
That's true, but we are going to be introducing some new things to the podcast that may not be on this show, but purely for podcasts. So definitely be an opportunity to get into that habit of listening to us. But if you have not already, you really need to get your gold and silver strategy set. So that's what we specialize in. And it's just based upon the repeatable patterns that we've seen over and over and over and over again. But the foundation is really good money to hold your purchasing power intact, to help you survive, and dare I even say it, thrive, so that on the other side of the reset, you come out much, much better financially than when you went in. So if you haven't done it, or if you haven't completed it, just click, well, if you have somebody, a consultant here, then call them. But, just click that Calendly link below, make an appointment with a consultant, get your strategy started. They have a strategy. You need to have a strategy to protect yourself and your family. Make sure that you subscribe, leave us a comment, please give us a thumbs up, and share. The more people that understand what's happening, the more people can make educated choices that put their best interest first. And, keep in mind as well that we are constantly coming out with new material here and also on our new channel, Beyond Gold and Silver, because we take a very holistic approach to it, and people will think, well, you're talking about gold and silver, and here you're talking about food, water, energy, security, etc. But to me, they're all one big thing. The whole reason why I did any of that on my farm and on the bug out property is because of my studies of the economy and what's happening. So for me, it's one big thing. We need to be as independent and self-sufficient as possible inside of community. And if you would share, I get how hard it is and that people look at you like you're insane when you talk about this, but you never know. The rapid inflation really is making people rethink what they thought. So you never know when you hit the right person at the right time that could change their world for the better. So I think that's really important. And until next we meet, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.